Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about how to make Cyberpunk look the best it possibly can, and as I'm sure most of you guys are aware, specifically on console, this game isn't optimized that well for console players. Gameplay aside, the gameplay is brilliant, but if we're talking about the graphics, this game has to have one of the blurriest, weirdest graphics I've seen before, and honestly, it's not that great. Now, I do just want to say, if you're currently not subscribed to the channel and you love Cyberpunk, be sure to subscribe down below, join the family so you don't miss out on any more awesome Cyberpunk content. But now that out of the way, let's freshen up your graphics. So before we jump into these settings, I just want to show you the huge difference this actually has changing all of these options. So as you guys can see from this image here, I actually screenshotted an image before I'd done the changes and also after as well. So this image you're seeing on screen is before the changes, and right now is after the changes. Now, watching this as a YouTube video, it's hard to see all of the improvements. So if we zoom in all the way to the left, as you guys can see this hotel sign, I want you to focus on the hotel sign, the edges, and also the windows as well. This is before the changes, and if we take a look at after the changes, you guys can see it's a much sharper image. The windows actually look much sharper. The edges look like actual edges. It doesn't look very blurry and fuzzy like it did before, and this is a very huge change. The worst thing about all of this is by default, you have the worst options already selected. It's like Cyberpunk wanted to make it even worse and give you the worst options by default. So when someone brand new to the game jumps on, they're just going to be disappointed, not even knowing they can make the graphics slightly improved. So what I want you guys to do is jump over to your settings and go over to the graphics tab. Now in the graphics tab, you're going to have many options. The first one we're going to focus on is the top one called film grain. This is the biggest culprit on why your gameplay looks very blurry and very fuzzy, and by default it will be turned on. You want to turn that off. This will minimize the gameplay looking fuzzy and blurry, and it should sharpen up your image. It doesn't completely get rid of the fuzziness and blurriness, but it does improve it by about 80 to 90%. I don't know why they've even given us an option to have film grain turned on, let alone turn it on by default. But any video game, in my opinion, shouldn't have this option because it just makes the game look very ugly and completely unclear as well. So be sure to turn that off. And the next one we're going to move on to color aberration, which is a visual effect which could potentially distort the viewing depending on which color you're looking at. Now, I didn't actually know much information about this setting. However, I saw someone over on Reddit compare an image with the color aberration off and then on, and as you guys can see, the difference is absolutely huge, and this definitely adds to the horrible graphics you guys currently have if you have this turned on. So I'd recommend turning this setting off if you want the best possible graphics. Moving on to the next option. So the next option is depth of field. Now, I don't notice much depth of field in this game. Depth of field is keeping something in focus and essentially blurring out the background. As you guys can see here, if I put my hand here and just wiggle my hand around, it's focusing up my hand now, and as you guys can see, I'm blurry. This is basically what depth of field is. However, it's not that blurry in the game if you have it on. The reason why I have it off is because I want the whole screen to be sharpened at all times. I want everything to be in focus. I recommend turning it off, but if you want to keep it on, it's completely up to you. Now, the next option is lens flare. Lens flare doesn't change much in terms of the graphics. Lens flare is basically specific parts of the map that get brighter with color. So for example, the sun will have lens flare. It basically lets bright light enter into the camera, or in this case in Cyberpunk, enter into your character's eyes, if that's how you say it. If you have this option turned on, it won't make your graphics worse. I think this is the only option in your graphics tab which you can keep on and still have good graphics in game. The last one is motion blur. This one is just turn it off. Turn motion blur off. Motion blur, I hate motion blur, and I've also had it in other games. They have motion blur in Call of Duty, they have motion blur in other games, and I still don't know why they have a motion blur option. Some people might enjoy it, but this is definitely an option you want to turn off because it will have an effect on how your game looks. So if you turn it off, you're already going to notice a difference straight away. And if you followed this video through, your game settings and your game should look much better than it did previously. It's not going to make the game look completely different, but it's going to improve it slightly compared to what it was like before. And trust me, before I knew about these settings, the game looked absolutely horrible. Be sure to let me know how you get on in the comment section. And as I said, if you enjoyed today's video and you enjoy Cyberpunk, be sure to subscribe down below, like the video if you enjoyed. Likes always help my videos out. Nonetheless, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Thank you all for watching another Cyberpunk video. Enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, I'll catch all of you guys out in another brand new video. Take care.